Who's there?
My daughter, she printed out a bunch of papers for me.
That'll be awesome.
Yes.
All right, you got 6 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Start with attendance. Brian? Here. John?
Yes.
I'm here. Tom? Here. Sal? Here. Mike Reese?
Here.
Mike Sampson? Here. Cindy Wells?
Here.
Aaron Wolf? Here. Mike sent out the meetings from the last minutes, or minutes from the last meeting. I'll entertain a motion to accept them as written.
No move.
I'll second that. Any discussion on the meeting minutes?
Just one little
Yeah.
typo. When they use the, and for the recreation, it says, usually. If it was suggested, it was suggested, it's the SVT.
Yeah.
It says if and it should be if,
Oh, it.
I would say, if was suggested, it was suggested, that came into place. Minor,
Scrivener's error.
yeah, it's silly, but.
That doesn't, I don't think that's how we're.
I'll accept that amendment.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, good, Karen. Thank you. Read them.
I read them,
Nice rookie.
not that I.
And she actually knows the English language. I don't know.
Okay,
All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as they were corrected? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ayes have it. All right, so our task this evening, first and foremost, is to go through the warrant articles, and this is our opportunity to, well, we have to make recommendations. Or not make recommendations, so I think we have to word it all every single vote. It's fine, we'll do that. And we are only voting to recommend or not recommend the articles that have to do with spending money.
is it just property tax implication or spending money on fund?
I think it's spending money in general, isn't
You're spending money,
it?
because that is the budget committee's job is to
Okay.
appropriate expenditures.
So how do we want to do this? I mean, in the past, some people have liked somebody to read the article. We all have a copy in front of us. Do we want to go through that exercise, or do we want everybody to read the article and then discuss?
Hopefully we read them already.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Yeah, we could just read them ourselves.
Okay,
I agree. And then have a discussion if somebody wants to discuss it. I can say it when you go to. I think Sadie should read them all.
No, I think I've read half of these already. Yeah, so I just want to make a motion that we're going to vote on this slate of warrant articles. Because if we make one motion, then we can just do our roll call vote after. We don't have to move on every single one.
Second.
whatever makes it more efficient.
Yeah,
And if it's legit, then I'm cool.
Roger always tells us it's legit.
What do you do, amend as you go through it?
We just vote on each one, but we have an open motion to vote on them.
And we cannot amend warrant articles at this meeting.
No, amend. But she's just approving the whole list
Well,
with a
we're,
motion, but we have to amend the motion.
Mm-mm. I make a motion that that we're gonna vote on all of these.
I'll have a list of the number.
Yeah.
With who said yes. So, the majority is.
As long as Roger does it right, we're all set.
Yeah. A lot of experience doing this for 20 years. Thank you. Appreciate it. Long time ago. All right.
so we'll jump right into it, I guess. The first one that.
Oh, wait, Nate, I don't know if we voted on that motion. I'm sorry. We had a motion in a second, but I don't know if we actually voted on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so all those in favor of the motion that says we're going to vote on all of these without having to do a
yeah.
motion and a vote on
We're gonna
each
vote
one.
individually on this slate of articles.
So how would you want to do it? Would you want to do the recommendations at the end?
No, it just goes for
As
each
we go
one.
through.
Yeah.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great idea.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
All yeses and one abstention. Okay, so I think the first one that we get to consider is Article 4, the road construction bond. Whether we can read it.
I would like to know why it went from 2.7 to 1.8 to 2.7.
That is because on the day after we warned the article, we had a 600,000, I believe, in for drainage. It came in much higher than that. The project went from 2.2 million to 3.1. Which is where this number came from. 1.25 million is what just the cost of the 5 culverts are that are tier 1 and tier 2. So the number was adjusted up. I have put it back into the capital improvement plan program to make sure that the payments work within the appropriation. The appropriation that's supposed to be for the road reconstruction is supposed to be 529,000. The first year it was 400,000. Next year, if we went to the 529,000, it works within the program. We have 100,000 planned for increases in CIP on an annual basis for 5 years. So the first year would all go to the road reconstruction portion, and the other portions would be collected over this next 4 years to get them up to the proper funding level. But we would be paid within still the capital reserve for the road reconstruction.
You say that all again, because I have no idea what it means.
What
The
the,
voters approved this article,
right,
which authorizes them to borrow 2.7.
this year it makes, there's no payment in the first year. It actually won't happen until year 3 technically, because the bond will be a 2-year bond because the construction will take 2 years. But we have a long-term plan for road reconstruction to get the $529,000 worth of appropriations in it. The first year is 400, next year would go to 529, and we have 7 other CIP items that have increases planned over 5 years. And it would include that, so we have $116,000 increase in appropriations on an annual basis for 5 years in order to get up to the proper funding level.
So this is a bond or a note,
It's a bond.
same difference from my point of view. It's a borrower.
Yes.
So it says here, there's no additional property tax impact other than what's in the highway budget, but you're gonna go at least 100,000 a year over the next 5 years. In the highway budget in order to pay for this bond. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
What happens if the voters say no next year?
If the voters say no to the appropriation,
To increasing the appropriation by 100,000.
well, the reality is, if we have there's a plan that the CIP committee came up with. If we're not gonna do that, we will have to pay that out of the general fund budget.
Let me ask you another.
The 100,000 difference.
There was another warrant article with the CIP plan for $1.2 billion purchase of a fire. And as I understand it, they backed off the ladder and they're down to 925.
Yes,
Well, how's that gonna offset?
actually, because we're doing this for each reserve fund, it's gonna have no negligible difference because it's based on, 30-year plan and how much has to go in there to keep buying these things on the regular replacement cycle. So the fact is, it will have no impact either way, and everyone has to go up or the whole plan falls apart. I mean, the reality is, we are $583,000 underfunded in capital at this time.
That's helpful, we went up 300,000 or 400,000 over the last 2 years.
But the replacement, in order to do the replacements that are in the program, we're $583,000 underfunded.
You go with a ladder truck or you stick with a bumper?
Just a bumper.
So, I think it's misleading. And I trust that the taxpayers might have some inkling if they see that they're asked to approve of a bond or a loan, or whatever it's going to be. The 2.8 $2.8 million and $2.7 million, and you seriously think that that's not gonna have an impact on taxes?
It does have an impact on taxes, but only in the appropriation. The point is, even if you talk about the equipment loan, we put $230,000 or so in there. All of the trucks are being bought out of that, so there's no impact other than the appropriation. The appropriation has the tax impact.
I got it.
Right.
Okay, but when you go up 100,000, it means that by definition, no matter what happens to inflation or anything else, you gotta go up 100,000 for 5 years in order to pull this sucker off. In the
No,
meantime,
not to pull that off. Just 1 year for that.
1 year is gonna cover $2.7 million.
1 year, and then 1 year, when you get to the 529,000 on an annual basis, that covers all of it plus other roads. The issue is the other 100,000.
That's, you know, I'm sorry.
The other 4 other years, the 4 other years that we have to raise the 100,000, that will be going to the other reserve funds. All the reserve funds are underfunded at this time, all of them.
So are you? Are we still recording all these things?
Yes.
So are you saying that we only have to go up once 100,000, that 100,000 will shift around to all these other?
No, it's 100,000 a year to the taxpayer each year. $100,000 to this fund one time. One time, and then that becomes the standard going forward.
Does that mean if the budget doesn't pass next year, it becomes part of the default budget?
Correct.
It's gonna, one way or another, well, the voters are being asked to lock into several millions of dollars of additional expense.
And the reality
We
is,
finally made the school, the patron saint of this town.
and it is what it is. I mean, the reality is, the voters can vote it down, but the roads will not get caught up. I mean, the fact is, it will take 6 years to do the roads that are here, and that means we're off 7 and 8 years for the other roads that desperately need work. So the one thing about the Upper Goose Pond, it's unfortunate that that's one of the first ones. But because of the drainage, the proximity to the pond, and the amount of work that has to be done, I mean, it doesn't even include the culvert at Hinkson Brook. If we had to replace that, condition is good enough to do this work and then work on getting a grant for that in future, that's $1 million by itself. If we just hired out to reconstruct the upper part of Goose Pond Road, it'd be between $4.5 and $5 million just to do it, to hire a contractor to do the whole thing. That's just what it is. So the reality is, I'm saying if we want to get on to a true replacement program, capital plan, where we're trying to get to 4 years from now, where we start being able to level fund with inflation all of our appropriations, we can get there, but we're so far behind, we got to make up a bit to get to that point. And that's a decision for the voters, because the voters got to live with what we do or don't do.
One of the issues, Goose Pond Road, because of the proximity to the lake, that has to be 100% engineered and DES approved. I can tell you from experience, you're doing good if you can get a 4 to 5 year permit that span to do this work in. You're gonna pay that engineering cost for the whole thing, which will probably, what would they
Right
think,
now,
around
the
300?
estimate, it's 300,000 at this
$300,
point.
a $300,000 estimate right now for engineering and permits. For that, if we don't do that whole stretch of road, and this gets strung out, you're going to be getting hit with that re-permitting and re-engineering fee continuously until you get it done. That's what makes it, that's why we looked at going with the bond, so we can just get it done under one permitting, one engineering, because it's so expensive because of the setback regulations that DES has to the lake.
So you said 3 numbers between the two of you, said 3 numbers so far, 600,000 on drainage is what you hope to get.
No, that's what when I originally was doing the original estimating, I had estimated 600,000. It ended up north, it ended up $1.5 million.
$1.5 million, I had $1.250 million.
$1.25 million is just the 5 culverts. But then including the engineering design and the permitting is the other 300.
305 out of the 2.7.
Right.
And how many miles of road does this 2.7 do?
Well, it does, the 2.7 includes Switch Road and River Road, which are, I wanna say 3.5 plus 2.3, so. It's almost 5.5 miles.
So 3.5, 2.3, and 3.5 is which?
That's Switch Road and River Road.
And how much is this one?
2.8, I think.
Yeah, that's 2.38, I believe, is what the number we had is.
2.8, so.
Yeah.
River Road was 0.7, I think. You told me.
0.7, and the other was
2.5.
2.5 or something like that neighborhood.
The Switch
I can look
Road-
up the exact.
And Goose Pond Road aren't very far off on
No.
distance.
It might
But
be in
he-
the minutes from last meeting because we had the same
Yeah, we
conversation.
did. That's why I remember.
We did, and I'm sorry for asking it again, but I didn't print out the minutes to get back and look at it. And it is up $1 million bucks, so, and I understand that it's $1,250,000 on the culverts and $1,500,000.
And that includes the town doing the miscellaneous culverts. The town is doing their own gravel work and the miscellaneous culverts. There's 45 of them.
Okay, so your belief is, that we don't vote on this because there's no additional property tax impact on.
Above what the planned appropriations for that.
I'm asking if that's what the interpretation.
No, the budget committee votes on all financial warrant articles.
I have a question.
Well, this town must be much more affluent than I understand it to be. And much more desirous of spending money to make us what we ought to be, fine. But at least when they do a vote, they ought to know what the impact is on the town. And this is a multi-year impact on a $2.7 million bond.
But that's where in article, I could actually point to it in the article then. It's article. Well, actually, we created Article 14, but for the first year, because we can't appropriate to it if we don't know to do the work, we have $400,000 currently. $430,000 currently in the operating budget this year. And then next year, it would be all in the reserve account, which would be the 529. So it's already in the budget. For 2025, it's in the budget, and the plan is looking at going forward, we are working with, we know we're gonna have $116,000 a year increase related to capital. Hopefully, we won't have any more changes on the operation side, and we won't have to make up any more revenue, so the hope is that all we're dealing with is inflation and the 116,000 going forward. That's the hope.
I got this today,
Understand?
so it isn't like I've had a whole hell of a lot of time. and Most of us, three of us, is fairly busy during the day, so I have not had a chance to review it. This is the last day we have to review this.
For the,
Yeah, because.
I mean, there's the letters.
Good, and I'm voting no on every one of them, because we can't do this with like 2 hours of discussion.
That's
So
what
you
Well,
wanna do
the
it?
deadline was yesterday at
It's
4
what
o'clock.
we've done every single year. I don't think it's.
The
any
deadline was
different than-
yesterday at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the, Karen, you have a question?
I think Mike had one first.
No, go ahead.
So there's no additional tax
I don't know.
impact above the highway road reconstruction appropriation.
Correct,
This year, the highway road appropriation is 400,000.
correct.
Next year, it
It's
will be
529.
529. Somehow,
We can put that in there.
yeah, that
That's not
would
a
be
problem.
helpful to
Yeah.
know that the impact is, you're gonna agree to this.
Yep.
And
It would be in
the
the-
budget's gonna go up for this item, 100 and whatever.
Well, I can do that in the explanatory notes. I'll put that,
Okay, it
I'll
just
put that
seems
in
that's
there.
what I'm going, oh,
Yeah.
well, I look
No,
at.
that whole thing should be in there, and I agree with you.
The explanatory notes is not part of the warrant.
If you want it in the warrant, I can put it in the
Part of
warrant.
the warrant.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Cause I'm just thinking,
Yeah, no,
people are
I,
gonna look
the
at
goal is that we,
$2,700,000, holy cow, what the heck is that? You know, so
Right.
how are we gonna pay for that? You know?
right,
So, and maybe you should say that the property, the highway road reconstruction appropriation in the 2025 budget is 400,000 and And explain
Well-
that it will be, because then they say, oh, there's more money, that sort of gets up to toward this
Correct.
2 million, although it's a bond, it's a little more complicated than just.
Right.
But you understand?
No,
Yeah.
putting that in there is no problem.
Okay. That's my comment.
Agrees?
Everybody knows I live out there, so, it's hard to not have any, conflict of interest. But when the road was when it was last redone about 25 years ago, it seemed to and it wasn't done to the extent that you're talking about redoing it this time. It was kind of just a repave job kind of thing. It lasted about 10, 12 years before it really started getting bad. And I understand the sentiment is to do it right and then hopefully get that road behind us for a long time. But when it was 1.2 or 1.6 million dollars, that made a lot of sense. Now it's 2.7 million dollars. I'm wondering if you guys have given it a thought to just give it a 4-inch repave job for now and revisit this in 10 years or 12 years, maybe when we're in better shape.
You're going to get less years than you did the last time because you're that far in. I mean, the
Maybe.
fact is it's failed so bad in some of those areas. If
No
you want
question.
to, do a lower cost alternative, it's returning the road to gravel and then putting real gravel road in and doing it right. And then, you're gonna save about $750,000 to do that, but you still gotta do the drainage, still gotta do,
Right.
the,
And then I just a question, I guess, the culverts. I know the 4 that you're talking about, there's Hinkson Brook and then there's 4 other ones. One happens to go on my property. They're this tributary streams. I can't imagine $250,000-300,000. You're talking about 20 feet of 18-inch pipe.
It's the
not gonna-
engineering permitting fee is your largest expense.
but
For
also,
a $200,000,
it's no longer gonna
can't be
be
a
an
$50,000 culvert,
it's not gonna be an 18-inch culvert anymore.
right?
Okay, the brook, they have different rules now for how they determine the size of the thing. And in addition, it's gonna be a different kind of structure. You may have to put stone in it, like it may be a squash pipe. I mean,
Gotcha.
it's gonna be a whole different world.
I mean, I'm not an engineer, it's just.
Yeah, it's a
common, that's
whole
all.
different world, yes.
I know what's there now.
I know, and when you talk about Hinkson Brook, the Hinkson
Well,
Brook
that's a
culvert, the
different story.
4-footer, $1 million.
That's a big giant, that you could walk through that without bending over.
But it's $1 million replacement.
Right. No, I get that.
I'm saying,
But
but
the
it's the
other
same,
ones
but
are
the
just-
streams all have rules.
I think I heard Mike say he owns that culvert and he's willing to replace it.
10 years,
Yeah.
They're this big.
about 10 years ago, I did just a 24-inch culvert in a wetland area.
Yeah,
It was just over $8,000 to the actual installation and over $7,000 of engineering permitting.
I mean, I'm not
This,
questioning.
no, I'm
anybody,
saying
just
this
like-
is where the problem comes in with the Goose Pond Road.
Yeah.
What makes it so expensive is that entirety has to be surveyed
Yeah.
and verified your setback from the lake. Before you even start, you have intermittent stream, you have seasonal stream and perennial streams, and they all fall under a different permit.
No, I get it.
We're lucky that intermittent stream. Anybody on the town that is a certified culvert maintainer can oversee the installation of the
That's a thing?
intermittent. What's that?
Certified culvert installer is a thing?
Yes.
Yes, it
Actually,
is.
that's what we had to assume that in this proposal, the 45 other culverts have to be done by a certified culvert maintainer, otherwise we gotta get them engineered and spend another 100 or a couple $100,000.
For what it's worth, I mean, there's 150 something people, properties on that would, on Goose Pond that would use that road. Not even 30 of them are full timers, but that road gets more traffic than Potato Road, South Road, Grafton Turnpike, South Road, River Road, Roberts Road, add it up. I mean, there's a car that goes, or a truck that goes by every single minute.
Right.
Every minute, there's a vehicle that goes by.
Well, that's
So
why
it is
we're
a
saying,
heavy use road.
this is just what we've had an engineer look at it, we've looked at it, Scott and I have gone through this a couple of
Yeah.
times, it's like. This is about the cheapest we think we can do it, and that means we took on some of the responsibility in-house.
So God bless you.
See, Goose Pond Road from the dam up, somewhere around mid-60s, they did what's called a penetration surface. That's just sprayed oil.
Yeah.
Gives you a 1/2 inch thick surface to get rid of the dust for the camps. That was there until about 25 years ago when they cut that up, did some of the culverts, regraded and paved. They never added, never upgraded the base that was there.
You're right. We used to spray the road with a hose on weekends. to
Yeah.
keep the dust.
Sadie?
Well, I'm wondering because we're not able to modify this now, if we could just vote on it. And then I just would like to go on record in support of Chet to say I've been on the budget committee since 2014. And we were handed the warrant articles the night we voted on them. We didn't even get them emailed. So this is not,
For 2.7 million,
excuse me,
for 2.7 million?
for 185,000 to buy a gravel pit, and it was the first time we had heard of it. Yeah.
What, how did the,
So I just think, you know, to criticize the process now is unfair. It's,
I'd like to ask a question.
well, hold on, how did the, select board 3-0 on this?
yes,
In the affirmative.
That's what I think. One more comment, then we're gonna move, and we got a whole bunch of more of these to go through.
So, obviously, in the past, when this was done, say, it's in response to her another question. I used to provide these types of reports, and I put all the anticipated bond articles in way before that meeting where they were voted on. Well, I take strong exception to that, and I'd ask you to prove it. So then the other question I have is on the highway equipment capital, the highway equipment cap, we'll deal when we get there. There's another highway equipment account there. I'll ask in Article 13, we had originally projected.
Can we get past, I mean, it's not my meeting, but can you at least start voting on them as you go and when you get to that one, change it?
Okay, why don't we just, I mean, it's a legitimate question. I read this to say in Article 14, when you're talking, or Article 13, when you're talking about highway equipment. You originally said it was gonna be 232,000, now it's not, it's gonna be 63,000. Is that a savings or not? If it's a savings, I might feel better about some of the other increases.
So I'd suggest, you know, we have to make recommendations tonight. We have a deliberative session to discuss them, and we can amend them at that point, and that might be the time. When there's people that, you know, I don't know, if you're not comfortable with it, you could vote against it or abstain from voting on it. But I hear your point. I'm gonna go ahead and just call on that. Gonna go around the room, Sadie,
yes.
Mike, Reese,
Yes.
Karen.
Karen nodded her head. You need to speak.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, we will do that.
Mike?
No,
Yes. Tom?
Yes. Yes.
Ryan?
yes.
And yes.
Main point this is.
The next one with money, looks
And
like
Article 7.
7, our general fund appropriation. My understanding is we're gonna have to reduce this one.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, that's different than what we voted on.
yeah,
In the last meeting.
So
we
went up
should
to
ask Chet to
120,000
explain.
and Mike had pointed out.
yeah.
So you're spending 120,000 more?
That was the money for the bridges that we didn't have in there, and then we modified the revenues and offset it.
Okay, what about the other amount? You're still. Yeah, I had two issues, 120,000, and you still got 136,000, there's no budget against it, but you're taking out. Of the capital reserves, or out of the unassigned fund balance, or out of someplace. In the trustees and trustees, can you tell me where that is?
Well, the meeting house is Fund 7, it's an expendable trust.
Granted, so how much are you spending? This is the conversation I had with Mr. Bergeron. How much are you spending on the meeting house and the community?
Out of Fund 7, it would be the figures that were in the CIP plan. But it's not out of the operating budget, all the operating budget needed was the $20,000 match for the grant.
Right. Okay.
If I may, can we,
You want to put it up?
I wanna skip Article 7 because that number is gonna change based on what the budget committee is final numbers.
That's fine.
Correct.
So let's go through all the other ones and then we'll deal with this at the end and then Article 7 I'll actually, is everybody okay with that? I think it just makes sense, so we can keep following through these other ones and then get into.
Yes.
Great, okay. Don't let me forget.
No.
Sure you won't. Yeah.
No,
Article 8,
uh,
appropriate to water and sewer operation.
Got the same amount that we approved, so
Yes. No
It
change.
is.
Hello.
Right,
We haven't changed it.
yeah, except on the next one, but, okay.
Yeah.
All right, any discussion on this one?
Yeah.
No? All right, Sadie,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
Karen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
I wonder if something broke in the company.
yes. So, Sal?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
So we're at 8 now? My turn? Okay, I'm a yes. All right. Article 9, additional
Go ahead,
$90,000.
if
for
the
water
court
system.
and the wells Go ahead, flood the back away.
You wanna vote on this? Oh,
That came from, actually from the the New Hampshire SRF phone groups. What happened was when we did the special town meeting, when the engineer had put the estimates together, he had done it based on what the actual cost was expected to be. And it didn't include the SRF at 780,000, it said 690, because that's all we really needed. But they suggested that we add that in case we need it. Because if we don't add it and we need to get more money later for that project, we will not get the 71% forgiveness. So by adding it, they're going to amend what was already authorized to the town back to the 780, and we get 71% forgiveness. So that's the purpose of that warrant article.
We vote on that? We vote on it?
yes.
Yeah, because you voted on the original SRF loan.
So,
Right.
That's Mike?
okay, so I object to this, we already were facing 50%, 70% increase in the rates in what you gave us prior to this. So I don't know, if anybody's watching, if you're online, just remember, it's a 50% increase in the sewer rates for next year and a 70% increase in the water rates. In order to achieve this budget that we had already reviewed. So this is gonna go up another $90,000.
Well, 71% would go up 71%, so another $15,000 or so.
How much?
15 or 20, I don't know, I didn't do the math in my head.
So instead of being
29% of
90,000,
that,
It's 15.
no, it's more like 20 something.
Can't read, I apologize, it's been a really long day. So I see 90,000. But and that's for the bonds. So does that say anywhere in there that we're gonna pay 20% of it?
The 71% was part of the same SRF that was in the explanation before, and I would be putting that in there again. We're getting 71% forgiveness because we've already been approved for that loan forgiveness.
63.9.
Right. That would be forgiven.
Correct.
And the assumption is we're not gonna need it. This is basically a contingency fund that we get 71% back. on.
Okay,
Other questions?
Well, just, if you don't mind, what is a 50% increase for the users? What is that, in dollars?
Basically, we had, I don't remember.
I mean, in
have
dollars,
it all.
if somebody was paying.
Dollars, it's not a huge number, but the issue is we're below the state's minimum. In order to get we have to get to that level, and that's what's actually proposed.
Right.
Getting to the state's minimum requirement that we could then qualify for a bunch of other stuff, so. And it was a study that was done and presented to the town by MRI. They had done the water rate proposal to us. We just now have to, at some point, schedule the time to do the public hearing to do the rate increase.
But, I mean, I have no idea. What is a person living on 125 Main Street pay for water and sewer? Just on.
I mean, the base rate, I mean, if you don't use above, is it 5,000 gallons, you pay $111.
Quarterly or?
Quarterly.
Mine's about a 140 a quarter. So,
So now it's gonna be 160 or 170.
can anybody share what their bill looks like? I mean, when
I just said mine runs about 140 a quarter, Mike, so.
140.
Yeah.
Because the average when I was doing it was something like 1,400 a year, so divided by 4, it's about 12, 350 something. Like
Well, so the average is offset. I mean, the school, if you're figuring the school and some of the big apartment buildings, they're paying a huge amount.
So
So-
school used to be paying about 15,000 a year, so it's gonna go up 70%.
Not 70%, 50%, right?
I mean, the reality is we're just,
50% on the sewer, 70% of the water.
so that's the plan, is to follow that program, because it had included the debt service, included all of those pieces, so.
And just as another comment, I'm voting in favor of this article, but just another quick comment is the school always required us to tell them by the 1st of December if we thought that there was gonna be any large increases. And clearly you guys have been talking about large increases since last September. Their budget, I think, is now done. They're not gonna be happy if they go up another 7 or 8 grand. So maybe somebody ought to drop them a line.
Any other questions, comments? Sadie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes,
Mike?
Yes.
Reset of the yard.
Tom? Yeah. Sal?
Yes.
Ryan? Yes. John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Article 11?
Article 11 and Article 12 are the same as last year's lease that was approved. For the two pieces of equipment, they've been split into two separate leases because two pieces of equipment came early. The other two might not be here till next summer. So basically we had to split it. We wanted to make sure we're there. The reason it says there's no increase is the $169,000 for the lease is already in the budget. And this is gonna be probably a couple $1,000s less than that. So there is no change to what's already in the budget, and it's actually in the default budget. We're just trying to clarify the lease language.
It splits out, just basically splits out something that was already approved.
Yes,
Have we made any payments on that first lease yet?
no. We make the first one this May. On the first two pieces, only half.
Yeah.
Any questions? Mike? Sadie?
Yes.
Mike? Aaron?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Sal?
Yes.
Yes.
Nobody else. Article 12.
Yes.
Okay, everybody have the same vote as on Article 11? All right, same vote, Roger, is that appropriate?
Got it.
Article 13. Appropriate the highway equipment capital reserve fund 63.
And that's because of the 69,000 that's already appropriated. The 169 for the lease payments, because it comes out of that same money.
So the money that was in this huge document here, which 232 is now dropping from 232 to 63.
What document are you referring to?
So your budget,
This
the
document,
232 for the highway.
okay, the general fund budget on page, whatever it's 20. Where it lists all the warrant articles that we anticipated up until tonight.
Right.
There was an article in there for 232,800, which was going to go into the highway capital reserve account. And this one says 63.8, which is significantly less. So that means you are going to be you're going to reduce the demand, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we did that a few versions ago.
Yeah, a couple of versions ago. So
well, this version was dated. It was in there,
Six.
yeah, and the reason for that is because it's supposed to be paid out of the capital reserve fund, but until the voters approve the authorization and we do this, we're making sure that we're covered. It's gonna come out of half operations and 63,000 goes to the reserve this year.
okay, so I'm trying to track this graph in my head, which is not working really well. So whenever we get to this thing over here, which is looking at how we balance out about monies from the trustees and trustees. So what I'm hearing you say is we are going to reduce appropriations that would have been a warrant article here.
Correct.
But then whatever the changes are that you made, have you already put those in or not?
They're in, but what you were sent the other day, yesterday, whenever it was, 2 days ago,
Today?
Friday. Friday was the last, the updated budget revisions where we include the 120,000.
That's it, just 120?
Well, the 120, this was done a couple of meetings ago, and then there was the changes actually, that was the only change to the expense side. There was other changes to the revenue side.
Well, the good news is If that's a moot, the thing I've been working on, is a moot point, if in fact you went up to 120, and I'll check it to be sure. But if you in fact went up to 120. On the expense side, that balances off with the money coming out of the capital reserve.
Right.
So far, we haven't gotten to the rest of the budget yet.
Okay.
But you drop the costs of government by the difference between 232 and 63.
Right.
So that's good.
Thank you.
Good. Hey, I could tell you're great for at least 3 or 4 minutes, just.
That's okay, we're getting there.
In the interest of sort of speed, anybody, gonna take a vote, is anybody a no vote? Anybody abstaining? All right, we're gonna call this a 9-0. Everybody okay with that method? If you're not, speak up and we'll do a roll.
Well, none of you voted yes, that's what I'm saying, so.
Everybody voting yes. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So declaring. Fourteen, creative fund and funding. Highway capital reserve road. construction.
It's the $10,000. It's just to open it, basically, because the money is all in the operations side this year, and ultimately that will shift over for next year.
So it says the estimated passages article increased tax rate by 0.02 for.
$4.80.
Okay.
It's supposed to
And
be a
then-
zero.
Okay, but sorry, okay, but in Article 17, there's an estimated passage article will increase tax rates to 0.03. Then it's $3.60 on the median.
Because there's,
So which is it?
well, it's because you're only looking at 2 decimal places. The thing calculates out if it's 1.7 and the other one's 2.4, they're gonna be these numbers. That's rounded numbers. We can't go out to that number of decimal places in the
It's more
explanation.
interesting, kind of when it's 0 and there's an increase.
This is what you were saying.
It's $1. There, one time there's a zero.
Tax rate, I look and think, oh, well, this one, it's the same percentage and it's what this much and it's this percent. It's not very different, but I don't know, well,
If you don't
It's-
explain it, then the.
It's,
someone's gonna-
it's a rounding issue and we can look at how we can explain that
Yeah.
better.
or just. It can't be the
We'd have
same
to-
amount.
'cause the
of-
four- the
of-
480 is the correct- 480 is a
It's
more correct
fractions of
number,
cents.
so,
So why don't you put that in at Article 17 too, that's 480?
because it's not.
We should have a
But
zero.
it's not, okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
No, because it's 7,500, is that it? Okay, all right, okay, I got answered.
It's just,
It's
it's probably out 5 decimal places and that's why you
I
have a
get,
little
I
bit.
know a little bit about numbers, yeah,
Yeah,
I get it.
Adds the credibility though, when someone says, hey, yeah, you guys aren't doing this right, you can't even do the math.
Yeah.
That's all.
You're gonna get that question, it's not people are gonna.
I understand. We'll look
But
at
you're
that.
not talking the same
see how-
numbers, you're talking 10,000 on one, 7,500 on the other, so you're gonna get 2 different total amounts.
Yeah, that's the difference, right. So. That's weird.
We'll have to add approximately 0.02.
We'll get there.
But that's where people go to the vote. They
Okay,
Get to the bottom line first.
all right, we'll look.
Try different iterations. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We'll do
Much
that.
cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Article 15, appropriate the fire truck capital reserve fund, some $160,000. Any discussion on this one? No, okay, take a vote. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. 9-0. Item 16, purchase fire truck and fund from the capital reserve fund.
Now, this is the one that's reduced from what we were anticipating.
Yes.
Point.
It went from 1.2 to 925. So the lease payment went down a little bit.
And where is that in the budget? It's not in, except by virtue of having a warrant article.
The 160 it's coming out of the reserve account.
It's still up a couple of hundred grand to what we thought it was last year.
Well, it went from, it's 150, that's this past year, are you talking about the truck cost or the?
This number would have been 700 last year.
Oh, yeah, the prices, there's about $100,000 swing in prices. And we're at least a year out from being able to receive the truck, so we took the highest one for now for planning, and then we will only buy what we need to buy. Cause we had 850. Like, I think one other one was 870 or 80 or something, and there was one that was like 9.25. So they're all, from a lease payment perspective, they're very similar. But this is not being added to the tax rate. This is so we can order it, and we're just appropriating the 160 grand. Cause yeah, we won't know for another year what we're doing.
Well, we won't know
Well,
the
we'll
exact
order this
amount
one.
until it goes to bid.
Correct.
So. Is this going to be a non-lapsing warrant article?
Yes, it's a non-lapsing appropriation through 26.
Okay. So the only amount that's in as an expenditure in the proposed 25 fiscal year is the 143,432.
Correct.
And that amount is going to be raised and appropriated from taxes or from capital reserve?
From capital reserve.
Any questions? All those in favor, supporting this warrant article, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Right, how about undecided? Well, then you're abstaining. I'm undecided, I'll go for it. $17, appropriate to the transfer station special revenue account for $7,500. Any discussion on this? All those in support of this article, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any undecided? We won't vote on 18, right? 19. See if the town will vote to raise appropriate 73,000 to the government buildings capital reserve fund. Any discussion on this one? It's too small. We just added I think you should add government building money last.
We added-
We added it to the operations side. We did not add it to the capital reserve. There was 10,000 added to the building repair fund,
Okay.
because that's the threshold for capital
Yeah.
repair. Once it goes above that,
Yeah.
then it shifts out of here.
But these money applications have been already calculated into the budget.
That is correct.
Right, that was my understanding.
Yeah,
Just
these are,
confirming
all
that
of these
I heard
numbers
that.
are in your, in the budget as the appropriations, so
Yeah.
they're calculated in the total rate.
Further discussion? Questions? All right, all those in support of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Appropriate to the MS Capital Reserve Fund, $85,000. Questions, comments? All right, all those in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Article 22. Create police capital reserve funds and to raise and appropriate the sum of $60,583. Any questions?
Yeah.
Mike?
So we have going into a police capital reserve fund, which is more expansive than just cruising. And in the draft that we got on 12/31. It said that going into the police was a different number.
Should have been about 110,000. 50,000 of it is grant money. So this is all we need to go to the reserve fund for this. There's a $50,000 grant for the cruiser and body cameras.
60,000 number might comes from the 59 that we were originally putting in capital reserve.
Plus the money that was left over.
Which was 1583.
Okay, I'm lost, sorry. So what I was looking at was that we had talked about cruisers and cameras. And the cruiser was 53. And the cameras were, depending on how you looked at it, either 55,000, which is what was in the CIP, or 92,000, which was in the budget for tasers and cameras, cruiser cameras and body cameras and tasers, 95,000. And that was coming out of the police capital reserve. That's why it was under transfer to
Right.
trustees and trust funds. So how does this go together with that? We're on number 22, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so the 60,000. 583, I don't see anywhere in there. It's not in the 92,000.
The 59,000 was the planned appropriation in the CIP. We have money already in a reserve account that has to be put back into the general fund and then re-sent to the police account. And then we have a $50,000 grant that's added to that for the things we're paying for this year. 50,000 goes directly towards the cameras and tasers in the first year.
So, on the CIP, when I did it the last time, which was the last time we got a copy, still had it as 55, so I'll pull what was in the CIP, but that changed. Yes? So I'm just.
This 55,704 was what? That was the expenditure.
That was an expenditure. I gotta
Right,
balance
but
it.
this is just the appropriation to the reserve account, which is based on the value of replacements and things like that.
Okay,
But the issue is the expense side is matched on with the what comes out of the reserve account plus the 50,000 for the grant. So
So
those
the ones
numbers
that-
aren't
the ones
designed to
on-
match.
on the one on 12/31.
The
Okay,
taser
got it.
camera
I'm all
expense
set.
in the operating budget, and then the grant money was thing is.
We're all set.
Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm sorry to go back and just ask you a quick question. So the one up to 59, is somebody gonna amend the CIP or not?
Well, the CIP calls for, well, they called for a 59. And then there was the 1583 is the old outstanding balance. The rest one is 65, whatever.
That's it. Let me double check it. I think I'm supposed to speak about this, so probably a good idea if I didn't screw it up. Or I didn't screw it up.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. All set.
Article 23, purchase police cruiser for $53,000.
And that's right out of the same fund. So.
Discussion? All those who support this article, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Appropriation of 9.7.
Do we have to appropriate the money for the lease of the body cameras and cruisers in a warrant article, or is that?
No, it's included in the purpose of the new thing that we can buy from that and you don't have to appropriate the actual lease.
So you can expend out of the police account without voter approval?
No, you're saying. Well, that one is select board. To be the agents
On the new one.
on the new one. So
What
they would,
happens if they say no? What are you gonna do?
if they say no, then we're not buying anything this
All
year.
right.
I mean, that's what it really comes down to. It's, we're trying to just set it up so that it's manageable and works. And, the voters will have to decide.
So on a simple issue of people being annoyed that the selectmen can do whatever they want, no matter what. Then they vote no, then you're gonna have a problem, right?
The reality is, all of these things, the issue with agents to expend. The voters control the appropriations and the budget. The issue becomes. It becomes very difficult. To, once you decide to buy a cruiser, to go out and get bids and things prior to a vote, because nobody wants to give you something that's gonna be 4 months down the road. So it gets very messy. It's much cleaner. If we put the plan out there, people vote to appropriate to it, and then we know we can buy it. And then we don't have to go back to the voters to pick out the exact one. Or to determine, okay, well, we're getting such a great lease deal, we should lease versus draw it in cash. That's the issues. I mean, we have to get approval for leases in general. But not, depends on.
Around for the extravaganza about the bulldozer.
Oh, I'm sure these things have all happened, and I know, based on what I've read. There is a significant trust issue with the voters and some of the government stuff. So we're gonna work on seeing how that goes, and this will be the first year, and we'll see what we end up with the vote. Thank you.
All right, Article 24, appropriate the sum of 27.5, yeah, to the evaluation capital reserve.
I had a question.
Yeah.
And I know you explained this, so I apologize. It was maybe a month ago. I don't remember the reason why we have to do this.
The issue is, the operations budget has 27.5 in there for evaluation to go into the fund. The issue is, the town got a letter from the state saying that we are outside, I believe we're 0.72, we're outside the CLA for valuations, which means we're more than 25% off low with our valuation. So the DRA is actually correcting for that in our tax bill. But they sent a demand letter saying that we have to reevaluate in 2025, which is a year earlier than we were supposed to. So the issue becomes, if the voters decide to vote no on this, and the state comes in and says, well, you better. We could say, well, the voters, we tried to do it, the voters said no, or, but if they say yes. Then we move forward with the process. And just like, everybody should be aware, and we'll probably be having this conversation at the deliberative session. If your valuation goes up on your house, the cost for your taxes in dollars does not go up.
Right.
For town taxes. But state and county taxes get done based on your new valuation, so it'll probably work out somewhat flat. I don't, depending on if we're still in those crazy numbers. I mean, at 25%. I don't know, I don't know what it'll do, but the town's taxes are calculated by the budget divided by your value of your house. So if you have you'll just have with a lower rate, the same amount of dollars.
So if I understand it correctly, we have an automatic expense to do this every 3 years, I think it is.
5 years.
Every
We're
five
we're
years.
obligated to do that.
Yes.
Because of market conditions, or the assessor did a lousy job, or whatever reason, we're under assessed. And now it's the voters' problem to speed it up for another year, you know what I
Well,
mean?
that's what the state has said.
Right. It just seems
clear
unfortunate.
Well, that's why I want to put it to the voters.
Because if you wait another 6 months, the prices are coming down 5 or 10% because houses aren't selling and interest rates are high and.
But the
It's
thing
gonna
is,
self-correct.
it's usually like it's like a 3-year average, the last
Yeah.
3 years. So it actually, if we do it in 26, if we're able to put it off for the year and do it when we're supposed to. Hopefully the values will have done its 10 or 20% correction, and none of this becomes an issue when you get reevaluated. So, but it is what it is. We got a demand letter, and I wanted to say no, and I talked about what the risks were, and I wanted to say, well, let's put it to the voters.
So if the voters say no, then what happens? I'm sorry.
Well, then we just continue like we are until we get another nasty grant. And then we talk to them
And the select board voted 2-1 against.
against it.
Yeah, I remember this quite a few
Well, I was
years ago,
inclined to
we
vote
went through
against it.
this.
Well, I
thing.
really am.
And that's where I am. But if we just ignored it,
I
we
do.
have an issue, so we either have to do it, or I think this is the
Put it to a vote.
alternative.
Yeah, showing good faith.
Right,
See, we had the issue, like I said, it was back in the 1980s. We had gone through a boom. And then literally overnight, real estate values crashed.
In 86.
The state was notifying towns that they were 110, 125% of value. They wanted to revalue to bring it back in line. I voted no to appropriating this because I feel that in the next couple of years here, if we stay on schedule, we're very apt to see a correction.
Thanks for the explanation.
But there would be really no penalty or anything from the state.
Well, there
well,
could
here,
be.
what I will say is, the worst that can happen is they threaten us. And we come up with the other 27,000 out of something else in the budget and we just do it. That's like our biggest risk.
What would they threaten us with?
Pretty significant penalties potentially.
Is it statutory though?
What's that?
Is the revaluation statutory, or are they going against the statutory?
No, when
So-
they pass the law with the school things with the CLA, because that's the averaging program. They made it so if you get outside certain percentages, if you go so much above the 100% or so much below, it requires an adjustment.
I'll go ahead and roll call this one.
Yes.
Yep. Mike Reese?
No.
Karen?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Ah.
And I'm a no. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do not recommend.
That's 4 or 5.
Five no's.
Six
Six
no's, 6
no's.
no's, 3 yeses.
82.
Because we're otherwise on schedule. We just have a shortfall they want to make up this year.
They want us to get ahead of the year so they don't have to keep playing with it. So it's a 1-year thing. If we don't get any penalties, we just do it in our normal year and we put the 27 back in the budget next year.
But we wouldn't go to 4 years by doing this earlier. We'd have to do it again.
We'd have
every
to,
year.
that would reset the clock for 5 years, every 5 years.
We'd be crapping about this in 2 years.
All right. Article.
27, right?
26. Yeah.
27 is basically when we reappropriate to the capital, the community center, the money's going, there's 99,000 in it now, goes back into the general fund. We're putting that back in, plus the money for the sale of the Cozy Corner, 66,000, never got transferred. So we're just basically transferring these out of the general fund. There's no tax impact.
But they should still vote on it. 'Cause
They have to, yeah, they have to
Yeah,
vote.
vote because it's money.
So on discontinuance,
So we have, we discontinue the existing community center capital reserve. fund.
Yes.
There is such a thing.
There was one created that, what was the reason? Wasn't that the one the auditor told us about?
Yeah, the community center capital reserve fund, we actually worded the article right, but then we forgot to file it with the DRA. So that DRA, yeah,
So now we're gonna create a community center town capital reserve fund.
Right, because there's been talk about the two being together, potentially if we ever
That's
do a
the
new building.
fund that's being.
But the only reason I added it, because there was conversation about town hall being attached to a building that would have it, and if we don't have it on the reserve fund, we can't spend the money if the town hall's involved. I was just concerned
But
about
we're
that.
creating a fund called the Community Center Town Hall Capital Reserve Fund.
Correct.
And we're now putting money into something that doesn't exist, the Community Center, the Capital Reserve. Fund.
That's a good point.
What's that?
27 should be appropriate to community center /
Oh,
town
it's gonna
hall.
be Town hall, you're correct.
Yeah.
Slash town hall.
Good catch.
Thank you,
Very, very important. Okay,
thank you.
you're very welcome. I
Yeah.
don't want to raise that with
You
you.
should be a lawyer, 'cause I missed that too, so.
$165,000, $165,000, there's no impact on the taxes at all.
It's okay. I want to make sure we didn't create another fund.
No, we're good.
How can we have 38 articles next year? Come on.
Oh, okay. Good.
So did we vote on 27?
We haven't yet, we
Haven't
said.
And we voted on 25 and 26.
We don't want to.
They have no money
Oh,
in
that's
them.
right. Yeah.
We could do roll call and tell me to go stand. 47, the appropriate the capital reserve, town hall
And
reserve fund. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item number 28, the rate appropriate 52,000. Remind me again, wasn't there some like grant money that was paying for all of our bridges or?
Well, this is for the long term, like, there's two bridges we built about 10 years ago, and we have to have a fund, like, we're gonna have a couple $100,000 in matching funds for the transfer station bridge. This pays for both those upgrades and the every 10 or 20 year, what do you wanna call it? Capital improvement that you have to do to the bridge for maintenance.
Okay.
That's what this is for, but we are getting somewhere, I think we're only supposed to pay in the end, less than about $300,000 out of almost 11 million.
Yeah. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor of 28, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Any abstentions? You don't have to vote on this one, right? Or do we?
You do.
We do.
The gray box. means
Yeah.
what?
That is basically explanation. I can either put it in the warrant article or I can put it in the notes. That's just how we're going, and that's supposed to be 150,000, not 100, sorry about
It
that.
makes a difference whether you're gonna reduce taxes or whether you're just gonna put them in the same fund balance, all they go into the.
Well, no, we're using $150,000 to go towards 2025 taxes. It says 100, but it's supposed to be 150. And then the balance will be between the community center and the undesignated fund balance. So we're using 150 to offset taxes.
what do we think this is gonna raise? What's the sale price gonna be?
Well, when we bought it we have about 194,000 in it. I believe it's gonna sell for between 200 and 300. We also have, which we're working on, something that was approved in the 2020-2021 timeframe, which was a boundary line adjustment next to the sewer plant, which will raise somewhere between 40 and 50 also. So that's already voter approval. We just have to get voter approval to sell this one, and I'm getting an estimate. So that's done now.
215.3, so sales gonna be above the assessed
Yeah.
taxable value.
We're talking about the same thing, it says Route 118 gravel.
Right.
You're talking about the gravel pit by the sewer plant.
No, no, I'm saying we're going to
There's
do
an
that as well, but
additional-
that's already voter approved. No, this is the gravel pit on 118,
Okay, so you're saying 125 is gonna be additional revenue?
150.
All those in favor, Article 29, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Just a quick comment. I didn't think about it until after we voted, but is it appropriate to explain what that 150 would do towards lowering the tax rate?
That's what's in it's what you got sent in your last packet.
Pardon?
When she did the calculation, our current budget that we have,
Right.
that you were sent on Friday, has that in there as revenue
The revenue.
to offset 2025 taxes.
But he wants to put those words on the warrant, so just like all the other articles, you see what the tax impact is.
So it'll reduce it by 27 cents per
I just was
thousand.
asking if it was a.
Well, the only reason I question that, and I'll do it however you want, is
What if you don't get it?
what's on the, when we do Article 3 that has the appropriation, the total appropriation. And the budget that's there, it's already in the budget. So would we be telling them, are we taking it off of what we already have in the budget? That's what we're not doing.
Oh, I see.
That's what I'm not sure.
It was that going, right?
It has no impact to the tax rate other than what's in the current budget.
Or you need to say it.
Okay,
Wait a minute, and the current budget meaning the current revenue? budget?
2025 revenue budget.
Okay, we updated it. I didn't even know we got something like that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what
We did, the 120,000 was added on the expense side. 150 for this and 150 also.
Well, it is offsetting your taxes by 150,000.
Correct.
So, hang on, just so I, no, I apologize, because I wrote it. It was 3,097,000 was the non-tax revenue, 3,097,499. That's gone up 150, is that?
It's going up 300.
What's the other 150 from?
We had ARPA funds that were for, what do you call it? Revenue replacement, and we applied that to this as well.
So you got 300 more one.
Yeah.
So you have no tax increase.
Well, we have 8.8 in our calculation.
We got 1.1.
We'll go with
I'll trust Carrie Ann's numbers.
Yeah.
So right now, we're sitting at 8.8 where we sit right now, so I think we're in a good place. So we just have to amend I think it's $127,000 on the expense side.
What's the,
You said you sent
you
something
have
on
the
Friday.
gross on the revenue side now.
Yep,
What's the gross?
Friday at 12:23.
I don't have anything.
I'm sorry,
I sent it to the whole budget committee and so.
Yeah, maybe.
yeah, but I.
Maybe I'll have to read it.
Didn't see it. So can you, there is a line that says, the total non-tax revenue, can you tell me what that is?
What are you asking me to look up?
Non-tax revenue.
I mean, the total of the revenue budget?
Yeah.
So the version I sent on Friday included the bond at 1.8 million. So the revenue total comes to 5,063,464.14.
And then
Yeah, but the bond revenue is tax rate, so what's non-tax?
I'll just
Like,
take that out.
what I'm curious, what are you getting out of the trustees and trust funds now? And what are you getting out of everything other than what's going on in the appropriate?
The revised trustees number is 913,140.
And what's so the total that included the 913,140 with all the other revenue that's non-tax revenue? You can look at it.
That was what I just said, the 3,263,464.
That's the one I'm looking for, 3,863. What?
263, 3,263,464 is the.
One more. Hey, come on, what can I say?
So when you back out the 1.8 million from the total general fund revenue, it's 3,263,464.
Repeat it back. 'Cause we can know. 3,263,164.
464.
464. Like I said, I can't hear you. The number's probably working.
Voted on 29, right? So.
Yes.
Yes.
Article 30, purchase order from the capital reserve fund, 2,800. Includes trading value of 40 grand.
Yes.
Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of Article 30, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 31, purchase one ton from the highway department. $55,000. Discussion? All those in favor of this, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Yes.
So we got two, so that would be nine, on the list, so that would be
7-2.
7-2. And now we're on to the petition article. I'm gonna roll call these, because I know that there tends to be discrepancies depending on everybody's favorite charity. Why I abstain from all of these, because I don't think we should be like, whatever. All right, number 34, appropriation.
Does anyone want to know the select board votes on these?
Yes.
There were three yes. And unanimous for all.
For all of them?
For all of them.
The select board recommended all of them.
Is that a world record?
I believe it is. That's why I just wanted to put it out there, Tom. Yeah. Come on.
34, 3920 for West Central Behavioral Health. Sadie,
Yes.
Mike,
Abstain.
Karen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes,
yes. Beth,
Yes.
I will abstain.
So
Okay.
Yes.
3 abstentions and. the other was, no.
6, so 6 yes. Okay.
600.
All right, Article 35, 13,500, so you got the thing from your. Senate accounts.
Yes.
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 yes,
Yes.
Yes.
I abstain,
Same.
Yes.
2 abstentions and. 7 yes.
Oh, wait, Mike Reese voted yes?
Yes.
Okay. I can't hear either. Sorry.
Turn up your glasses. That 6-3, 603.
It's a 7 yes, 2 abstentions.
702.
702.
702. Who would the extension? Me and. 36, 2,910 for the Public Health Council of the Upper Valley Exhibition.
Yes.
Abstain.
Abstain. Karen? Yes. Mike?
yes,
Sarah?
Yes.
I abstain.
I abstain.
Yes.
603. 37. 7,588 for Tri-County Cap.
Oh, wait, did you skip public health council?
That's the one you just voted on.
Really? Okay, well, that's what I wanted to vote. So thank you. Sorry. Oh, my gosh. I apologize.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That was 7-2.
I have the excuse of being old.
I just wish we had another 30 articles to do.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Give us a couple more years.
Oh, I worked on this case. Okay,
So our Tri-County Cap,
okay.
any discussion?
It's just, we know why, so have they traditionally given to Tamworth and not the local?
It is,
That's the way Tri-County works.
it is a service to Canaan residents. If they chose to go that up there.
It's organized by the state, okay, it's a federal program that developed done for the states about like 40 years ago. And when it did, we happened to end up in this student district.
Okay.
But it does give a lot of high value to residents that otherwise couldn't afford most of the housing.
A lot.
Yes.
Otherwise shouldn't be unfortunate. And heat assistance. Electricity assistance.
I'm a yes.
Abstain.
Yes, yes.
You said this, so. Yes.
Tom? Sal?
Yes.
I'm abstaining.
Yes.
$38.
Reject the
Appropriate Wise repetition, $2,100.
Yes.
Wise. What is it? Wise is a, what is it?
That is for women, I think.
Yeah.
I think men can go there as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
What?
Just what it says.
That women- and men can go there as well,
You
yeah.
can see victims of sexual abuse and violence. And they do have housing, emergency housing. So
And they could,
counseling.
they do education. In schools
And rental assistance as well.
and rental assistance, right?
There's two of these things that really focus on. Mental health issues, this one and West Central. West Central is more of a, like a clinical type of a program. This is a hands-on, like, hands-on program for people who are in trouble.
Yes.
Abstain.
Aaron?
Yes.
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 Abstain?
Yes.
It's wrap around.
So services.
Something like that.
April 39.
Just so you know, there's a, in the middle of that, I apologize, when there was a copy and paste, there's a duplication. In the middle, with the Board of Selectmen vote and the estimated, it's actually the bottom one that's the correct one. The middle two little things are scratch,
Which article?
39.
Oh.
When you read it to see if the town will, then it says Board of Selectmen, cross that one off and cross off the estimated passage and look at the bottom two. For that.
Oh, gotcha.
We'll have to change the votes there too. No, what I'm saying is it's voted, it's the last year's vote, so it does not recommend this article.
I know that.
Okay.
I'm a yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Tom? No.
Yes.
Abstain?
Yes.
5, give me 3.
Chet, do you know, did we get any feedback on ridership yet?
Oh, yeah.
I believe we do, and I.
Not that I need at the moment, but I'd like to know what that is. And if that could be included in future articles, perhaps that'd be a consideration.
Okay.
I've asked that before. Unfortunately, it's just what they provide us, like it's word for word what we have to put in for petition articles.
Oh, okay.
A long time ago, some of the nonprofits would come to deliberative session to speak, but that hasn't happened in recent years.
We got a pretty good track record of not having to go and speak it.
For a long time, the select board and the budget committee did not recommend, but the voters have supported all of the agencies, with the exception of a couple last year, I think, but.
Great service. I used it for many years, but it's, don't know what the body count is.
It's what?
Body count paper.
The Advanced Transit Service,
Yeah, what about
great
it?
service. I used it for many years.
Yeah.
But they don't know what the body count is.
Oh, you don't have the bounty.
It'd be nice to know that. If not for this forum, for whatever.
I know Mike Reese was able to extract some data about some of the agencies one year, like he did a bunch of research to see, yeah, you know. So I don't know if you can find that online.
I'll call Advanced Transit tomorrow and see what they get.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I mean, last thing goes to the schools, but my boys, they pull evidence sometimes, they go to CCDA.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
It's one of the considerations I'm moving here for me. 3 bus, 20-mile circuit.
We have to do 7, and so I know, so I'm hoping the rest of the community can enlighten me, but apparently there was some discrepancy from the last number we voted on. I haven't been really busy and I haven't followed the communication on it. please let me know what is the difference, so apparently the bottom line budget that we voted on has changed. Is that right? Yeah.
Changed by. We voted on was 6,251,200.
Right, and 6,379,199, which is the 120,000 that Mike had pointed out in the bridge thing, basically, and I think there was another 7,000.
6,379,199,
Yep,
and that's without warrant articles,
No,
That's
that's the
without-
operating budget.
that's the operating.
right, so warrant articles.
The warrant, warrant.
And
You
the-
know what the total is on all the warrant articles that would require cash? Like, if it's in the budget, we don't count it. It's already.
It's in the calculation when we did the total tax rate, when we did the
That
whole thing.
was iterations.
Well, no, she sent it to you again, it's the 8.8.
Was that on Friday? I got
Yeah.
that too?
Yeah. It was one of the attachments.
Okay. What does it say the warrant articles are?
All the warrant articles come to 2,831,783, but that's including the 1.8 million for the bond. So that'll be increased to
To
the
2.7.
2.7, but then the revenue increases equally.
All right, back up. The 2.831173. Did I get that number right?
2,831,783.
Okay, so that's the gross, and you said
Subtract the 1,000,008.
subtracting man, okay. So it's 1,317,83. Yeah. 1,000,000.
1,031,783.
And the revenue to balance that out is coming from where?
In the revenue budget that was emailed Friday also.
Might as well just call.
Well, so where does the come from?
Well, some of it's the 300,000 we told you about, and then the rest was the trustees of trust funds.
So that is coming out of the trustees and trustees.
Yeah.
And that's coming out of what account?
Several of them.
It's all the capital reserve transfers.
The things that we're buying that you have in the warrant articles, it's that
All
stuff.
right, so I've got the 913, but $913,140 is coming out of the trustees and trustees.
Mhm.
And then, that's on revenue side. And then, but I didn't see anything that said $1 million. I mean, I did go down through and look at all this stuff. I don't see any $1 million in there. I see 59, 3, 143. The loader, I don't know about that.
Well, there's also the 50 that's the grant from the police that was in the expense side. That's not in that trustees, and there, I think there's one other one.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand the question, because there's 4 pages of revenue accounts that all the revenue adds up in total that amount. So we went through the revenue budget and we increased the property sale money that's gonna be put towards taxes. Like Chet had said earlier, we put towards the ARPA revenue replacements, 150,000.
So the gross amount that we had before on page 21 was 7,035,000. The gross amount that we have now is not $9 million, it's only $8 million.
That's this time. 8.2. Ish. If you had the 1.8 to that.
The original number?
Isn't that the,
That's the operating budget.
right?
That includes the 120.
So three different meetings, so I congratulate the hell out of you, I get home and say, hey, it doesn't matter. So I just wanted, it was last night, so, you know, it's all over, so, really, but I just want to make sure I understand.
Scrivener, did you, have
Two questions. One, all the warrant articles are approved and the total budget for the town is approved. The increase is 8.8. And you still don't know the biggest impact, which is the school.
1.2,
How much?
1.2
So
is what came out,
Percent?
information today.
it's
Yeah,
in the
that was
Valley
very
News.
nice.
Okay, so it's-
Yeah, somewhere I read that today.
So what did you think it was with the general fund and the warrant articles and that after the revenue side?
Well, with the full bond amount, the total of everything is 9,210,982. But we have to increase that to the 2.7 million.
And then you take $1.8 million away from it,
Right, and that's what we're dealing with.
which leaves to be, the gross that has to be raised somehow is 7,410,982. It's a combination of 6,379,199 and the 1,031,783 comes to 7,410,982. And then the amount that you got coming out of the unassigned fund balance is 913. Well, so that's the gross. So it's just for the hell of it.
Well, I get estimated taxes to be raised at 4,147,518. When you take the total appropriations minus revenue. So the
Say how much?
estimated
4 million what?
4,147,518.
It's more than what.
It'll be a little short from what's needed.
Yeah, well, let's see what, I think you're right, though. I think it's gonna come out okay, but excuse me for actually trying to figure this out, make sure I do. But, so it's 8.9, what did you come up with for the increase in taxes?
8.8.
8.8.
8 point what?
8.8,
Close enough.
depends on what your rounding figure is.
Yeah, no.
I knew you'd say that. 8.8.
It's a rounding
I
error.
think that is, that place, you know.
Sadie, you want?
Did you work for the federal government?
We need to vote on the revenue budget as well, right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm not sure if that's required, but that's what we've always done in the past.
We did it last time. Too, huh?
Oh, not the number.
On our meeting.
So the weighted average between the school and the town is gonna be somewhere only around 4-ish, right? I'm doing that in my head, but
It's like 2 to 1. Or 2 to 1.
2/3 of
Well, we're
2/3
28,
1.2.
27 or 28% of the total tax rate.
Right, at 8.8%.
Right, 8.8% of the 27%. That's where the increase is 8.8% on top of 27%.
Yeah, like this year's tax rate's $29.53 per thousand, and the town portion is $8.20.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, 8.8% times 27% and 1.2% increase at 67%. I think if I'm doing that right,
Oh,
it's
it's
around
similar, yeah.
4%
Right.
total tax bill increase. You know, somebody's looking at the total bill, you know, my bill was 10,000, now it's 10,000, you know, that.
I'll do what I usually do. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful
That's why I
job.
have you not going first. You doing your-
Thank you for tolerating us while I answer.
Well, just remember, there's an invoice coming.
So let's,
Looking at the school audit.
Have you voted on 7 yet?
no, we're gonna do that last. We're gonna get our numbers first, because we have to re-vote on our general fund bottom line, if that's what goes to the 7, then we can vote to recommend 7, but let's vote on, could you read off the revenue budget, please? We have not voted on those.
You want it line by line?
No,
No.
just the total.
The total revenue. Have to add the 900,000 for the bond. Right?
Yeah.
Gonna be 5,963,464.14.
So I'll entertain a motion to vote on the revenue number of $5,963,464.14.
So moved.
All those in favor of accepting the revenue budget at that number, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on. Go.
Well, you come to me.
Okay. I will also entertain a motion to, I guess, amend our prior. We're gonna supersede our previous vote on the general fund appropriation. With a new number, and that number being $6,379,100. $379,199. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Article
So
7.
Finally, Article 7, we're gonna vote, same thing, if we just voted on that number, we're gonna see if we recommend Article 7, so all those in favor of recommending Article 7, say aye.
Aye.
What's that?
Mike has a.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No.
I just didn't know what Article 7 was.
Oh. That could be like Article 2.
You don't need to know that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Great. One more, Mike, go ahead. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, one other thing, I thought I could feel from previous years, that the budget's set up differently than it has been, so I was free today, and I assigned everybody certain sections, so at the public hearing, this is mostly for Brian and Tom, who probably haven't been involved. It looks daunting, but it's really not, so essentially, tomorrow night, if I could recommend or request hard copies of the budget for tomorrow night, for all of us, and also for if anybody shows up. I went through and I basically just broke it up into the general fund and then the other funds, and went through, 4130 executive, so basically like what Sadie will do is say, all right, general fund, government executive, and she'll go down to the bottom line number, and then the budget committee's number is, and we just follow down the 2025 budget committee number, and you just say that. I'm sure you can. No. How about that? No longer. Maybe about 20. Oh, you're not gonna be here tonight.
I definitely want to.
Okay, well, you can have Tom, how about that?
What could be done?
I'll be here at the deliberative session, but I will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, and I will be the opposite, I will not be at the, but it's not our meeting anyway, but I won't be at the deliberative session, but I will be here tomorrow. Okay, so Tom, let's see, why don't we just move, sorry, Jim, we're gonna move, health and pest up to John. And we're gonna move, health agencies, welfare, and vendors down to that. You all right with that? Yeah. And so that's basically all it is. It's not that. You'll see how everybody does it by the time it gets to be read, so.
You bet, I know.
If anybody has questions, and you don't remember the answer, then we'll just say.
Help out.
Did everybody get that email that I sent?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I didn't get Carrie in.
I didn't either, but what it's worth Friday.
I did get there.
I looked in trash and everything. I get it.
I forwarded it, Jerry.
I got it now.
You gonna republish this? That,
You want me to send it again? Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I got a question about capital outlay. Am I doing all sides of that or just the expenditures?
I would expect just the expenditure side.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the expenditures, land improvements, machinery, vehicles, equipment, buildings, improvements, and other than buildings, that's it?
Capital outlay, yeah, just the bottom.
And that's in the general fund budget, that's not in the warrant.
That's right.
Okay, that's simple. I'll go back to saying I like. Like 4 items.
And so what you can do is save it, so if those of you on the committee next year, save it somewhere, you won't have to redo it, you can just change the names. That's what I used to do when Ellie had it all set, but it's all different now, so
And just one thing, Ann was looking at stuff and we went through, and I know John assisted with some of this. Just wanted to clarify, so everybody, we sure there's no errors. There's 3 budget committee members that are up this year. There's 3 2025s. And, excuse me,
I'm retiring.
you're retiring? So you're gonna give us a letter so we can put this in? So that will be, and so for the remainder, so there'll be one more, because we have one that's a 2-year, because Mark left, he was a 3-year for 27. So we currently have 3 positions open for 3 years, 1 position open for 2 years, and I think you were at 26, so another position open for a year. Right, so we have 5 positions open. Need to do some recruiting. The quorum.
Again, for a
the-
3-year term,
Yeah.
but if you get to a point next year and you need somebody, I don't want to chair or have any big responsibilities if you need a body. I'd entertain an appointment, but I just didn't want to run for any 3-year term.
That's fine.
There is a 1-year term open now, though.
There actually is a 1-year term. No, it's a 2-year.
Yeah, Mike's retiring.
Oh,
so
Mike's,
it's a
yeah, Mike's a 1-year.
Just leave it, yeah, forget I said it.
This is not the droid you're.
So we'll be talking to you on the 30th of this month when nobody else has applied.
Okay.
So you'll post those
It'll take a couple-
positions that
Yes.
are, people can run for on the newsletter. Can you put
There-
them on Facebook too? Unfortunately, that's where most people get most of their information.
Yeah, we planned on doing that.
Okay, thank you.
For all the positions, Monica?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, this is the entire list.
Well, not just budget committee,
Yeah, no,
but
I have,
all
this is the whole
committees.
list.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to budget 3 public.
From the cars, I'm like, hey, you can run. I'm like,
What time do we meet tomorrow?
7:30.
Okay.
It's because we thought there was a planning commission meeting at 6. And it was last week.
Well, with the number of clients.
So that was a oopsie on everything. That's what caused us to have to move the.
What you want us to do?
Oh, that's fine. I just.
All those in favor, say aye.
Hi. All right.
Was that a adjourn?
7:30 tomorrow night, but there's no other, there's not that second public in.
No, but it was supposed to be when the budget committee changed it to 7:30, we sent the change to the Valley News.